Hey everybody, this is Betsy Wildman for Papertrey Inc. and I am your host for this week's Make It Monday challenge. This week we are going to play around with some motif building. So let's get started. So motif building is one of my favorite techniques. It's just really fun to combine lots of different stamps into one colorful design and just kind of to see what you can build from smaller stamps. And it almost kind of gives a Scandinavian folk art type of look, which I love. So we're going to play around with that today. I'm starting off with a panel of fresh snow linen cardstock. This is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel. And what I have done is I have marked my center using just a ruler and a pencil. And I marked this, actually it's not quite the center, it is the center vertically, but the horizontal line is just slightly above center because I want my finished motif to be slightly above the center. So I've gone ahead and done that. That is one of the most important things because it's going to help you start with your center image. And when I do my motif building, I always start from the center. So I'm going to be using a variety of sets today. The first image I'm going to stamp in my center. This is actually from the Fair Isle Motifs set, and this was released last year, I believe. And it's just a pretty kind of a Nordic knit looking image. So we are going to start with that, and I'm actually going to stamp it on the diagonal, so it's more of a diamond image rather than a square. And I'm going to use my pencil lines as guides there to help me line everything up. And this is kind of the most important step here, is getting that first image nice and centered and lined up. It's really going to help you build everything else from there. Okay, so that is that image. And then I'm going to be adding lots of details using the Holiday Folk set, which this set was kind of designed with this technique in mind, so it's really perfect. And what I like to do is I like to just start building with some of the smaller images. And I'm going to start off with the star. Here we go. This is just this cute little star here from the set, and I'm going to start off by stamping that with some Aqua Mist ink. And what I'm going to do when you do this, basically you just need to think about whatever you stamp in one area gets stamped all the way around, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start by stamping the star at the tip of each of these points on my center snowflake image. And just keep in mind that you want your spacing to be pretty uniform. That's going to help everything line up and be very symmetrical. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to stamp is I'm going to stamp these branches. There's also from the Holiday Folk set, and you can see I already have them on my block. I have both of them on my block, and I have them lined up so that there's just enough space in between the two to allow for room for my star. So I'm going to stamp those in ripe avocado ink. And then I'm just going to go around and stamp them on each of the stars and just kind of eyeballing that I've got it kind of lined up. You can see how the tips there kind of meet, so I can kind of use that as my guide and the stars as my guide as I go around. See how that turned out pretty good. And then the thing is just to keep building, and you can kind of decide, you know, when enough is enough or when you want to keep adding. Next I'm going to take this medium-sized bird, also from Holiday Folk, and I'm going to stamp that in some pure poppy, and he is going to fit just kind of nicely in between those branches. So I'm going to go around and stamp him. Okay, our design is building, and then I kind of want, there are these cute little flourishes, which I think would look cute stamped on beside the stars, or kind of coming out of the star. So I'm just going to lay those out, position those around the star like that, and then I can go ahead and place my block on top and just grab those. And I'm going to stamp those in some classic craft ink. And again, we're just going to go around stamping those above each of the stars. And I feel like I kind of have just red, 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 red here. So I want to bring just a little bit of red above each of those stars as well. So I'm going to look in my set for a smaller image that I could use for that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use this little bell. Just a tiny little bell. This is why the folk art, the holiday folk set works really well for this technique. There are a lot of stamps that are mirror images of each other. And there also is a good variety of sizes of images. Okay, and then I also feel like my corners are a little bit bare, so I'm going to go ahead and take that flourish that we used above the stars, and I'm going to stamp that in each of the corners. And this has a mirror image stamp to it, so I'm going to take that one and stamp that in the other corners. Okay, and then you can go ahead and build as long as you want, or whenever you feel like your design is finished, you can go ahead and just stop and call it good. I have a little die cut star that I want to actually add to the center of that. So I'm going to grab my glue and just go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive on that. And I'm going to put that right in the center. Okay, then of course we need a sentiment to finish it off, and I have a sentiment here on my block. This is from the Tree Trimming Trio set. It's going to fit just nicely below our motif there, and I'm going to stamp that with some ripe avocado ink again. Okay, and there we go. Our card is finished. Just kind of has that fun Scandinavian wintry look to it. Okay, so thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on motif building, and I hope you can play along and enter your project in our links list on Nicole's blog. And have a great week, everybody. This has been Betsy Feldman for Papertrey Ink.